We got a brand new Todd Howard interview, and that means we got a lot of information to dig into. And all of the questions that we wanted asked after the Fallout TV show were asked. So we have massive updates on the future of the Fallout franchise. Is Obsidian going to be working on anything? Are there more collaborations inbound beyond the TV show? Does Bethesda have a roadmap plan for Fallout? If so, what's going on there? Do they wish they had a game ready for the Fallout TV show? Like, all the right questions were asked, and I was surprised some of the answers that Todd coughed up. So we're going to talk about that. Starfield, we're naturally going to get into with a big update arriving this week and what it packs in. We're going to discuss, and of course, when the full patch notes come out, we'll break down that update and test it out. And then last but not least, personal updates for Todd. What's going on with my man, right? Is he retiring soon? That's been a big question asked with the release of Starfield, and he's 53 now. How many more games does he have in him? He's super successful. He can kind of just leave whenever he wants. So let's go ahead and find out, shall we?
But first, a word from our sponsor.
The following video is brought to you by Marvel Strike Force. Marvel Strike Force is a mobile squad RPG that allows you to battle with your favorite team of superheroes and supervillains in a fight to save the universe against threats like Doctor Doom and Apocalypse. Your goal is to power up your favorite characters to complete missions, unlock gear, and other resources, and beat other players in PvP modes such as Alliance War and Arena. I've been playing Marvel Strike Force for the last couple of years now. I started back in, I want to say 2018, and I've been sticking with it ever since. This game allows you to assemble a squad of your favorite heroes. Me as a Spider-Man fan, I'm going for the full Spidey squad. But you can unlock a total of 17 characters within your first 30 days as a new player. So Spider-Man, Deadpool, Thor, Captain America, and more favorites are available to you pretty immediately. As you play with more of the heroes and villains across the multiverse, you're going to be able to power them up to take on game modes like campaigns, arena, blitz, and this is all done through really fun combat. You see some stunning visuals. The storyline's also really interesting, and then the game modes are plentiful. Again, there's campaigns, blitz, arena. There's also the Alliance War, which is a weekly alliance battle, raids, and Cosmic Crucible, where you go head-to-head against other players in a tournament. It's a really jam-packed game. So what are you waiting for? For a limited time this month, if you use the QR code on screen or click the link in the description, you'll unlock these exclusive characters for free by logging in. Celebrate the release of the Spider Society team by adding more Spider-Verse characters to your roster for free. So I want to start off at the top with Todd Howard's retirement. Now, depending on what side of the fence you come from here, you're either going to cheer or be upset by this answer. For me, as someone who really enjoys what Todd does and the work he's involved in, and I can feel when his creative hands are in the process, I personally am happy to see that he said in this interview that he's enjoying what he's doing a ton right now. He doesn't want to stop. He doesn't plan to stop. He wants to do it as long as possible, and there are currently no plans to retire. I don't know if that means in like 5 years that changes. Who knows? But it seems like his head's not in there right now. And I say I'm really happy about that, not just because I also enjoyed the work he's done. I respect if you're not a fan of Todd and his work, but for me, I look at the era we're kind of in with Bethesda Game Studios right now, and some of the information we're going to talk about when it comes to Starfield and Fallout, and how, to me, my favorite era of Bethesda was really 2008 to 2012, where you got Fallout 3, Fallout 3's DLC, New Vegas, New Vegas's DLC, then Skyrim and Skyrim's DLC, like an unmatched era of just gaming in general. And I feel like many people will have their taste vary on this, but right now we're looking at the launch of Starfield. We're going to get Starfield DLC this year, and some of the things Todd says suggest that we have more Fallout stuff potentially coming sooner rather than later. At least that's the way I'm interpreting this information, and especially when you account for like leaks that have happened in the past, I feel like we're entering an era where we're just going to get a lot of BGS content. You account for the TV show as well. So I look at this sort of stuff and think like, man, I'm kind of enjoying this stretch where they just got a lot going on. 76 getting some of its best updates yet. So I feel like they're doing pretty good right now. And I'm happy to see that the man at the top of the food chain is planning on staying for a while. But of course, I imagine some people will complain about that. So let's talk a bit about Fallout, shall we? Let's set the table with all of that here, because that's going to be the bulk of the talk. So let me play his answer so you can hear it for yourself, and then I'll give my thoughts on the matter.
I would say we've always had those conversations. We did a lot of things for the show. It might seem like, hey, there isn't a big new game out, but we added content into 76 for the show. 76 has a really great map expansion that's coming this summer with Skyline Valley. And so we look at what we're doing with the franchise, and then we say, do we still feel good about, I can't reveal it now, but here's our runway for the Fallout.
Yeah, you can do
as
it.
A franchise.
You can reveal it now. It's fine.
Season 2 happening. What are we doing on mobile? What are we doing in 76? What are we doing with this thing? What are we doing with this other thing? And when are these landing? And again, if I could snap my fingers and have them all be out and ready, I would. But the main thing is like, all right, how do we deliver these at a high quality level? That's always most important.
So what we learn here is that there is a roadmap for Fallout right now beyond Fallout 5. And this is great to hear because right now, as it stands, the current interpretation of the Fallout franchise before this interview was we had 76 and we're just going to get 76 updates until Fallout 5 in the early to mid 2030s, which is a pretty bleak outlook for a franchise this popular with a show that's now the second biggest ever on Amazon Prime, next to Rings of Power. You know, like the Fallout franchise is popping off, and we'll talk about in a separate video how Xbox seems to be looking into expediting that process, because I just have a whole rant on how it took this kind of success for them to recognize that. But Todd says there's a plan. Obviously, you can't reveal it now. He mentions mobile, so we're thinking Fallout Shelter. Is there more on the way, though? I could see this definitely being a thing. 76, we already know what's going on. It's going to keep getting updates. It's enjoying some of its biggest updates since Wastelanders right now. I can't wait for Skyline Valley because that actually does look really good. But then he mentions one thing and another thing. This can be an interesting guessing game depending on how much leaks and rumors you've paid attention to and what you want to bite onto. Right now, the best leak we have is straight from Xbox, where Bethesda's release roadmap showed that a Fallout 3 remaster is on the way. And when Todd kind of jokes about hearing the request of Fallout 3's remaster without giving away too much, I don't want to overanalyze, but I see that plus the leak, and I'm thinking about things that could be ready in the near term. I think given the timeline between Xbox acquiring Bethesda, partnerships that had to be established, we see with the release of Redfall and the state it was in, how clearly slow the comms were between Xbox and Bethesda, and how much more intertwined they actually are than I think either company really registered. So just everything surrounding that suggests to me that, you know, Bethesda wasn't picking up the phone going, hey, Obsidian, can we get Fallout New Vegas 2 cooking? And since that release roadmap was made before the acquisition, that seemed to be like a long-term plan from Bethesda to go like, okay, here's what we're doing, here's what we're selling to you, here's what we're planning to make. And obviously that helps determine the value of the purchase for Xbox. Between that and also just the state of the Fallout franchise, it wouldn't signal to me that they have a new entry or a spin-off entry in development. It would make the most sense that one of these things is the Fallout 3 remaster. And the other thing could be a new mobile game or something along those lines. Who knows? But Todd really didn't object to the idea of Obsidian working on a new Fallout game. So let's take a listen to that answer, and then we'll dig in a little bit more.
First, I'll say they did an amazing job with New Vegas. And we see some of that. And I'll say to everybody, like, that's a game that we published, right? So it's also kind of, it's yeah. And I would say Fergus, who runs Obsidian, is absolutely one of my favorite people in the video game industry. And he's been around for so many decades, has done so many things, and has seen it all. So they do a fantastic job. I can't speak to things that we're doing with the franchise in the future, obviously. But New Vegas is a very, very important game to us and our fans. We think they did an incredible job. And if anything, the show is leaning into, right, the events there.
Just a bit by that final shot of the show. Just a bit it's leaning in.
Yeah. And obviously season 2 is going to be featuring some of New Vegas. And we're careful about, maintaining the key events of that game and the great content in it.
It's a bit of a non-answer there. He says how much he enjoys Fergus Urquhart. I think this is actually a good thing to hear, though, because Fergus has been outside with his comments about Fallout, saying, like, I want to work on it. Let me work on Fallout one more time. So I feel like that's got to be the, if you will, midterm plan. Like, what's between now and Fallout 5 that's a big release? And it's probably a Obsidian-developed Fallout game. I think when you're Xbox, there's a clear business reason to facilitate something like that. When you're Bethesda, you now understand, as Todd talked about here with balancing all these franchises, that collaboration helps in getting stuff out while doing it at a high quality level like the Fallout TV show, but it helps when collaborating to get stuff out, as we've all been saying for years. But this Fallout TV show just seems to be the powder keg moment of, okay, we can't just tuck this franchise behind our back any longer. We have to do something with it now, like they've practically been forced. So I feel like New Vegas 2, if you will, is like the betweener game. And the Fallout 3 remaster is like the near-term thing. We also have the rumored Oblivion remake, so that's another in-betweener. If you're Bethesda, you're looking at it from their angle. And so then you get something from Obsidian a few years from now in a main new entry, which of course works. If you've watched the Fallout TV show, you know why Obsidian Fallout may be extremely relevant in the next couple of years. You have the second season of the Fallout TV show, Inbound, we already know that's confirmed. And then eventually you crawl your way to Fallout 5. We don't know how 76 is going to evolve and develop, if they're going to one day like move things to a new engine. Are they going to expand the online capability of 76 with new technology? We don't know how certain things are going to turn out, but I feel like between that and the mobile games and an Obsidian partnership and a Fallout 3 remaster, it seems more and more, without saying anything, that there are more collaborations happening with Fallout, and the TV show success is being thanked for making that really happen. We also have the announcement of the brand new Xbox Showcase, which was rumored to come June 9th, and it is in fact doing that. I feel like this is a great spot for Bethesda to announce something for the Fallout franchise. When you look at it, we're weeks away from the Fallout TV show, and still after that, Fallout is extremely relevant in the conversation. It's been like old times here, right? I mean, I imagine many of you who watched me for a while kind of feel the same way. Like, we're talking about Fallout for multiple weeks now. This is a really cool stretch, but it reminds me of the old times where people were very optimistic about the future of the Fallout franchise. So I'm sure for Bethesda, it would be in their best interest, and Xbox would be in their best interest to capitalize on that amount of hype and attention that they're getting right now. I did also speak a bit about the lore for New Vegas and saying how much they love it, and again, how the show kind of suggests that, saying that they want to maintain key events of the game, and that there are discussions on answering the endings and how he'd typically prefer to avoid / refute any tampering with, say, New Vegas's endgame content, and that when he defined the lore and what they're looking at and the level of truth each has, he says what's on screen is the first truth, what's written is the second truth, and other stuff like spin-offs is the third truth. And how much you want to lean into that is kind of up to you. How much you want to move things forward is up to you. Obviously, I think the proof is in the pudding. There are things like what Mr. House said about his awareness of things happening before the Great War. And is that rule number 2 for Todd Howard? Like, this was written, but it's something that's on screen, so I feel like it's got to be respected, right? So we'll see with season 2 how things line up, but this will probably be a quote that we'll circle back to years down the line with season 2 of Fallout. We were also graced with an answer on if Fallout will ever go beyond the United States. This is something I was super curious about, if Bethesda would ever consider exploring, and Todd talked about how he really prefers the Americana naivety of, say, the Fallout franchise, and how they plan to keep it predominantly in the United States. He actually had an interesting aspect to this answer that I don't know if I really agree with it, and I'm curious what the audience thinks of this, so please write in the comments down below if you agree with this line of thought. But he said that he likes to keep the mysterious lands a mystery, and his exact quote was, "The worst thing you could do for a mysterious land is answer the mystery." I get the idea of it being a massive task to take on, like, well, let's answer what's happening in Russia, let's answer what's happening in China, let's answer what's happening in Italy. Like, I get it to a certain extreme, but I feel like the Fallout franchise, part of the fun of it is how expansive the lore can truly be, like how many parts of the world you can explore and how they've been changed after the apocalypse. I understand the idea of the mystery of Fallout is like, you're just here in this state in the United States, and you don't even have a clue what's happening down the street, let alone across the ocean. I get the whole idea. I get the whole vision. I don't know. Maybe it's because of the way I like to write things. I like to answer mysteries. I feel like an answer to things is great. And as a fan of franchises, I like to know what's happening in different parts of the world because, like, I'm invested, so there's a return on investment there. I don't know. Todd won't hear this. He mentioned in the interview that he only listens to Kind of Funny. So I'm just talking to myself here and to all of you. So there are my thoughts on that. He also talked about Fallout 76's cross-play and cross-progression, which is currently being investigated. He does say that cross-progression is more important than play to them, but they're looking into both, citing that there's a technical lift for doing the cross-play since the game wasn't really designed like that from the start, but that moving forward, they're going to be more mindful of cross-progression. And obviously, that's more of like an Xbox mantra. We already know that, right, with the playing on every screen. So I only anticipated that from not just Bethesda, but any company falling under the Xbox banner. But when it comes to 76, this is something I would personally love to see. I have like a total great endgame character on my PlayStation, and I don't want to load up the PS4 file, play in 30 frames, just to access my like level 100 plus character, it'd be really nice if I had access to that over on my PC. So it's something that I would be very over the moon for them to figure out. Crossplay would also be great with how many players Fallout is seeing. They say in this interview consistently 5 million players daily across all Fallout games is pretty insane when you look at how there's no new Fallout game right now. These are just all old games retaining player counts. It's amazing to see, but no crossplay or cross progression yet, but both being investigated. Let's shift gears now to wrap things up. We're going to talk about Starfield, where we got a bit of information on what's coming up for that. I was holding out on making a video talking about the weird situation with Starfield where we're 6 months past the game's launch and not much of consequences really happened. And my theory, as I talked about in Defining Duke, was they might be waiting till they're closer to the Xbox showcase to start dropping significant mechanics into the game, and then you see Shattered Space and you see the roadmap, and maybe that creates a renewed level of hype instead of just throwing these big updates out there and hoping someone notices it, because I feel like the narrative has already been decided for Starfield, so maybe this is the plan if I were to guess. But nonetheless, we're finally going to see, for the first time in the game's lifespan, a significant update arrive. Todd talked about how Starfield is getting city maps, other display modes on consoles. Maybe that means like a performance mode or something. He talked about gameplay options, which we then learned was shipbuilding. He spoke about modding, how some of the modders for Starfield are getting the new creation kit, but there's no date yet for the public release, and he's excited to see modders go pro with the new creation system, and also mentioned that console mods are absolutely still part of the plan for Starfield. He also did get into the reception of the game, which I was surprised to see him dig into, because naturally we know YouTube was on fire with Starfield's release. At first I was a little upset with his answer, because he's like, oh, we're over the moon with the technical data that we saw and how the game was performing on that level, and also the record players, Game Pass being a big part of that. He was happy with the critical reception, but does see the critical feedback. This is where it got really interesting, citing that he understands the complaints about how Starfield and its exploration is very different from Fallout and Elder Scrolls, but he does defend that each of the franchises should be their own thing. I would counter that saying it's totally fine that they're different things. I don't think the problem is Starfield is different. I think the problem is the exploration isn't designed nearly as well as your other games, which have no problem sharing that element. So why does Fallout get to have the same exploration as Elder Scrolls if they had to be different in that regard as Starfield, where I think landing on the planets, as he mentioned in his interview, is a really important thing, and I understand the vision, but I think when you sacrifice like the amount of load screens that come in, that's where it gets troublesome. We've been down this road before, but I was happy to see he confronted the most common piece of feedback, which is the exploration. It will be interesting to see with future updates, or my prediction is Shattered Space being the main focal point of potentially targeting how exploration works in Starfield, how much of an answer to those problems it is. My thought process is it could be like a Far Harbor moment for Bethesda, where Fallout 4 was torn down for its lack of role-playing, and then Far Harbor rolls through and goes like, no, we can do a great role-playing experience with like the voice protagonist, we can do multiple endings, we can do skill checks. Like they added all of that in with that expansion, and then did Nuka World, which was more Fallout 4, which is kind of a hilarious, if you will, backtrack depending on how you enjoy Fallout 4. But nonetheless, I feel like they could do a similar thing here with Shattered Space. So that was the interview, ladies and gentlemen. We had a lot of information here to pick through, from Starfield to Fallout, the future of that franchise. And now I leave it in your hands. What do you make of all this information? I'm excited to see your thoughts. Fire away. Other than that, take excellent care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next video. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.